From the moment a quarterback is drafted, the world begins to watch. It's not just about throwing a perfect pass or reading defenses. It's about carrying the weight of a franchise on your shoulders. In many ways, the quarterback is the heart of the team, the leader, the decision-maker, the face of the franchise. But with this role comes an unrelenting pressure that most people can't even begin to understand. The spotlight that shines on a star QB is intense, scorching, and never fades. Every game, every play, every decision is scrutinized. The quarterback is expected to be perfect, not just for a quarter or a half, but for the entire game, every game. Win or lose, they are always the first to be praised, and more often than not, the first to be blamed. For the media, the fans, the coaches, and even the front office, there is no middle ground. The star QB is the one who is expected to lead the team to victory. When the game is on the line, the fate of the team rests in their hands, and that's where the pressure starts. The stakes feel higher with every touchdown, every turnover, every incompletion. The weight of being the face of the franchise isn't just a burden. It's an invisible chain that binds you to expectations you didn't ask for. This is where the prison metaphor starts to take shape. Because as much as the public adores their quarterbacks when they're winning, there's no room for error when things go wrong. A bad game can trigger a storm of criticism. One interception can unravel the narrative of heroism that has been carefully built. The mental toll is often underestimated. For the quarterback, the pressure is 24/7, not just when they're on the field but off it as well. The constant need to stay in peak physical condition, to maintain the perfect image, and to be the leader everyone expects them to be. This role, with all its rewards and glory, feels like a gilded cage, a place where freedom of failure is non-existent, where any mistake becomes a defining moment. The expectations placed on a star quarterback aren't just high, they are unrelenting, cyclical, and never satisfied. The quarterback must always be better than the last game, the last season, and the last Super Bowl win. For every win, the pressure for the next becomes even greater. There is no time to relax, no time to take a breather, because the moment you think you've achieved greatness, the world demands more. It's a constant loop, a grind where yesterday's victory is just the setup for the stakes of tomorrow. The expectation is that a star QB will always perform at their peak, that they'll find a way to win regardless of the situation, the opponents, or the circumstances. But the reality is, football is a brutal sport. There are injuries, weather conditions, and even moments of bad luck. Yet none of these things seem to matter to the world outside. The public and the media will always judge based on results, and results are everything. One bad game, one misstep, and suddenly you're under the microscope. A single interception can erase a career's worth of accomplishments in the eyes of the fans, turning a hero into a scapegoat. The psychological toll of always being expected to perform is profound. Every mistake, every underwhelming game isn't just a reflection of poor execution, it becomes a personal failure. This constant fear of disappointing others begins to erode a quarterback's confidence. The endless cycle becomes even more suffocating when the athlete is no longer defined by who they are as a person but by their last game. The weight of public opinion takes on a life of its own. Players can no longer escape the judgment of the crowd even when they're away from the field. The moment they step into public life, at the grocery store, at a restaurant, with their families, they are still the quarterback. They are still expected to be flawless. The expectations never stop, never fade. And for every win, there's always the fear of the inevitable loss. The pressure to stay on top, to not just meet but exceed what you did before, becomes a psychological barrier that's hard to escape. It's a cycle that leaves no room for error and little space for self-reflection or growth. In many ways, it's not just about winning games anymore, it's about keeping up with a narrative of success that feels impossible to sustain. The weight of those expectations begins to feel like an anchor, pulling the quarterback deeper into a place where they are trapped by the very thing that brought them glory. As the star quarterback, the world watches your every move on the field and off it. But the irony of this fame is that while you're the center of attention, you are also deeply isolated. The QB stands alone, not just on the field but in the locker room and in life. The reality is that while the quarterback is often the team's leader, that leadership comes with an emotional cost. There's a loneliness in being the face of the franchise, a sense of distance from the very teammates you're supposed to lead. On the field, the QB has to make split-second decisions and be the person others look to for guidance. But this role can create a rift between the quarterback and their peers. While a quarterback might spend years with a team, earning their trust and respect, there's always a layer of separation. The QB can't always let their guard down, can't always show weakness or vulnerability. Teammates might look to them for confidence, for direction, but they rarely look to them for understanding. The QB's role demands a level of emotional control that makes it nearly impossible to form the same kind of close bonds other players can rely on. There's an emotional burden in being the focal point of a team, a responsibility that can lead to feelings of being out of place. Off the field, the isolation becomes even more pronounced. The public sees the quarterback as a superstar, but in reality they are often distanced from the normal interactions and friendships that others enjoy. The constant scrutiny, the expectation to be on all the time, makes it difficult to build genuine relationships. It's hard to trust others when it feels like everyone around you is either trying to get something from you or is invested in your success or failure. The loneliness is compounded by the sense that no one truly understands what you're going through. The media, the fans, and even family and friends often don't get the pressure of being in the spotlight. It's a unique kind of loneliness that comes with fame, one that's invisible to those who aren't living it. The quarterback can't share their true struggles with anyone without fear of it becoming public knowledge. The vulnerability they might want to express, the emotions they want to let out, have to be buried deep within. In many ways, the spotlight doesn't just illuminate the quarterback's talents, it also isolates them, creating a mental prison where the only way out is to perform. The more the QB excels, the greater the gap between them and the rest of the world becomes. They are expected to carry the weight of the team, the city, and the fans on their shoulders, but in the process, they often lose themselves. For a star quarterback, success is never permanent. It's a fleeting moment, a fragile illusion that can disappear in an instant. The constant fear of falling from grace is a shadow that looms over every touchdown, every MVP season, every highlight reel. No matter how high they climb, the fear of the inevitable downfall is always there, creeping closer with every snap. The quarterback's position is unique in that the potential for failure is always present, no matter how accomplished they are. One bad season, one disastrous injury, or a string of poor performances, and suddenly everything they've worked for can crumble. The quarterback is often viewed as the team's savior, but that status can vanish in the blink of an eye. When things go wrong, there's no one else to blame. The spotlight shifts from the collective struggle of the team to the individual performance of the QB. This fear becomes all-consuming. For many quarterbacks, the pressure to keep their starting job, to fend off competition, and to maintain the public's love is a battle that never ends. The threat of being replaced, whether through a trade, a draft pick, or a coach's decision, is always in the back of their minds. The fear of losing everything can be paralyzing. And even if they've won a Super Bowl, even if they've been to Pro Bowls, the possibility of being overshadowed or forgotten always looms. The psychological weight of this fear manifests itself in different ways. Some quarterbacks start playing not to lose, becoming overly cautious, afraid of making mistakes. Others press harder, trying to prove themselves even more, but in doing so, they often take unnecessary risks. It's a dangerous cycle. The more you try to escape the shadow of failure, the closer you get to it. Moreover, there's the realization that for many quarterbacks, success is only ever temporary. In an NFL career that can span just a few seasons, a star QB's reign can be surprisingly short. The fear of the fall becomes a reality that they can't ignore. They are constantly reminded that even the greatest can be forgotten. One injury, one poor performance, and suddenly you're a has-been. The public and media that once lifted you up can just as quickly tear you down. The joy of victory is often short-lived because it's always overshadowed by the knowledge that the next failure could be just around the corner. This constant fear becomes a cage, a mental prison. Every performance becomes a test, a measure of whether or not you still belong. The insecurity that comes with knowing your career could vanish overnight is something few outside the game can truly understand. It's not just about playing football, it's about surviving the pressure that comes with being a star quarterback. And for many, the fear of falling from grace is an overwhelming weight that never truly lets go. While the quarterback's public life is glorified, filled with fame, sponsorships, and adoration from fans, the private life is often a sacrifice. The relentless demands of the job, both on and off the field, come at a steep personal cost. The quarterback doesn't just give their time to the game. They give up pieces of their humanity. Relationships, family, and the freedom to live a normal life are all compromised in pursuit of success. Being a star QB means that every aspect of life must revolve around the game. During the season, they are consumed by practices, film sessions, training, and travel. Even in the off-season, Their physical condition is under constant scrutiny, and there's the pressure to stay at peak performance, to remain in the media spotlight, and to be ready for the next season. That leaves little room for personal growth or enjoyment outside of football. For many quarterbacks, their personal relationships, whether with family, friends, or romantic partners, are strained by the demands of the job. Spouses and children often have to navigate a life where the QB is physically present but mentally absent. The constant focus on the game means that moments meant for family bonding can be interrupted by last-minute practices, media appearances, or injury rehabilitation. For a quarterback, there is no such thing as a normal family life. Time spent with loved ones is often fleeting, as they are always balancing the need to be there for their team and to maintain a flawless public image. Friendships can also suffer. The emotional distance that comes with being the face of the team can make it hard to form true, meaningful bonds. Other players may respect the quarterback, but it's difficult to share genuine experiences when everyone around you is constantly looking up to you. It's almost as if the quarterback is always on. Their persona never truly drops, even in private moments. Even when they try to relax, they know that their actions are being watched, their decisions are being analyzed, and their reputation is always at risk. The sacrifices extend beyond relationships. The quarterback's freedom to experience life without the constraints of their role is limited. They are often bound by the expectations of their team, their coaches, and their fans. Everything they do, from what they eat to where they go to how they present themselves, is scrutinized. They must be perfect, not just on the field but in every aspect of their public life. The pressure to maintain this image can lead to a sense of burnout, a feeling of being trapped in a cycle they cannot escape. It's a lonely existence. The sacrifice of normality of a balanced life is something that few outside the game can truly grasp. The quarterback's life is one of extremes. Intense highs when they win, crushing lows when they lose, and an unyielding pressure that never allows them to simply be. It's a sacrifice of identity, of freedom, of the simple joys of being a person rather than a public figure. And as time goes on, these sacrifices accumulate. For some, it's a price they are willing to pay in exchange for glory, fame, and the love of the game. But for others, it becomes a weight too heavy to bear, a realization that their personal life and happiness have been irreparably altered by the very career they chose. The life of a star quarterback is a paradox. It is a position filled with fame, wealth, and recognition, the epitome of success in the world of football. But beneath the surface of this glittering exterior lies a truth that few ever fully understand. The price of that glory is often a personal prison sentence. Being a quarterback means constantly being in the public eye, carrying the hopes of an entire city, and battling relentless expectations that are never satisfied. The pressure is unyielding, a cycle of triumph and failure where every victory is followed by the demand for more, and every loss can feel like the end of the world. The quarterback is the face of the franchise, the undisputed leader, but they are also a figure trapped in a world where success is fleeting and failure is unforgivable. It's a role defined by isolation. While surrounded by teammates, the quarterback remains emotionally distant, always needing to maintain a level of detachment. The fame, the fortune, the adoration, they all come with the knowledge that no one truly understands what it's like to be in the QB's shoes. That loneliness is suffocating, and in many ways, it defines the quarterback's existence. They stand at the pinnacle of athletic achievement, yet feel as though they're standing on the edge of a cliff, always one bad play away from falling into obscurity. The fear of failure becomes a constant companion. With every game, there's the nagging thought that this could be the one where everything unravels. A bad season, a serious injury, or a misstep in the public eye could mean the end of their career, and with it, their sense of self-worth. The fear of falling from grace haunts even the greatest quarterbacks, overshadowing their every move. And when it's all over, when the career ends, whether through retirement, injury, or simply age, the personal sacrifices become painfully clear. The relationships that were strained, the time lost with family and friends, the personal moments that were forever altered by the demands of the game, they can never be fully reclaimed. The quarterback has given everything for the glory of the game, but that glory is often an empty shell. Fame fades. Records are broken. Championships are forgotten. And in the end, all that remains is the question of whether it was worth it. The star quarterback's role is tragic because, in many ways, it's both a dream and a nightmare. The game they love becomes a cage they can never escape. Their greatness, their success, is a gilded prison that demands everything and gives nothing back. It is a position that elevates them to the heights of fame, yet shackles them to a life of constant pressure, sacrifice, and isolation. The next time you watch a quarterback lead a team down the field, remember that their glory is often built on a foundation of unseen pain. Because for all the touchdowns, the MVP awards, and the Super Bowl rings, the true cost of being a star quarterback is something that can never be fully understood until you're the one in that prison wearing the crown of a champion.